What drives someone to kill? What flips the switch from human to homicidal? Today, we dive deep into psychology, biology, and life experiences that shape the darkest minds. This is not about glorifying murderers. It's about understanding them. This is inside the mind of a killer. The psychological landscape. The mind of a killer is rarely shaped by a single cause. Instead, it's a complex mix of psychological traits, environmental influences, and in some cases, neurological abnormalities. Many killers exhibit signs of antisocial personality disorder commonly associated with sociopathy or psychopathy. This includes a lack of empathy, disregard for societal rules, and manipulative behavior. But not everyone with this disorder becomes violent. Psychologists point to what's called the McDonald Triad: 3 behaviors in childhood often found in the backgrounds of violent criminals: animal cruelty, fire setting, and prolonged bedwetting. While this theory isn't perfect, it highlights early warning signs of emotional disturbance and aggression. Another key factor is lack of empathy in many serial killers. fMRI scans reveal reduced activity in the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing emotions like fear and compassion. This makes it harder for them to understand or care about the pain they cause. But a psychological diagnosis alone does not predict violence. Many people with personality disorders live non-violent lives. So what pushes some people over the edge? Childhood trauma and abuse. A disturbing number of killers share a common thread: severe trauma during childhood physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, or growing up in chaotic, violent environments. This trauma can alter brain development, especially in the prefrontal cortex, which controls impulse, judgment, and emotional regulation. In essence, the early environment wires them to survive, not to connect. For example, consistent exposure to violence at home can normalize aggressive behavior. If a child grows up watching violence solve problems, they may come to see it as a legitimate response to frustration or conflict. Some develop attachment disorders, leading to difficulties forming emotional bonds. This emotional detachment can lay the foundation for cold, calculated behavior later in life. In short, the roots of violent behavior often begin in childhood, fertilized by abuse, neglect, and emotional isolation. Neuroscience of a killer. Modern neuroscience is shedding light on how the brains of violent offenders function differently. Many show abnormalities in prefrontal cortex, which regulates decision-making, impulse control, and morality. When this area is underactive, a person may struggle to weigh the consequences of their actions. In some cases, brain injuries have also played a role. Notably, a number of infamous killers had traumatic brain injuries before their first violent offenses. While not a direct cause, such injuries may contribute to aggressive tendencies and poor impulse control. There's also the question of genetics. Studies on twins suggest a heritable component to violent behavior, particularly when paired with environmental triggers. A controversial gene known as MAOA, sometimes dubbed the warrior gene, has been linked to increased aggression, especially in people who suffered abuse during childhood. However, it's important to note, genes are not destiny. A predisposition is not a sentence. Social and cultural influences. The society we grow up in also plays a critical role. A culture that glamorizes violence, suppresses emotion, or promotes toxic masculinity can shape how individuals handle anger, rejection, or shame. In some cases, killers act out of a desire for power, control, or recognition, particularly in societies that equate dominance with strength. Then there's the issue of access to weapons, weak mental health systems, and media sensationalism. When the barriers to violence are low, the risk of acting on violent fantasies rises. Motives behind the madness. So why do people kill? Motives vary, but they generally fall into a few categories. First, power and control, a desire to dominate others, often rooted in feelings of powerlessness. Second, revenge, seeking retribution for perceived injustices. Third, financial gain, murder for profit, often seen in organized crime or contract killings. Fourth, thrill seeking, killing for the rush, often linked to psychopathy. 5, sexual motivation, where sexual arousal is linked to domination, suffering, or death. In serial killers, motives often become blurred. Over time, the act of killing itself becomes a goal. Some even develop rituals, trophies. What are we doing to stop the cycle? If you want more deep dives into the psychology of human behavior, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon